folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. It is 6:40 in the PM here on, oh my God, July the 25th, 2025. The future is here. The future is now. I'm seeing Ted Brown in the chat saying that the federal court just threw out Trump and the Department of Justice's lawsuit against the sanctuary status of Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. Wow. Okay. So I guess if you living in the Chicago area, you'll have to get used to a lot more illegal immigrants. You're seeing a lot more illegal immigrants on your commute to work. All right, folks, we're back here on WLTH 1370 AM. That's 92.7 in the FM dial. This is Straight Out of the Cannon with me, Scott Cannon. Let me get this caller before I go to the next topic. Hello, caller. What's up?
Oh, Mr. Scott, can you hear me okay?
It's all good, brother.
Okay. I like to comment one thing during the Barack Obama administration.
What about it?
That, if I can, I'd like to share this with the WLTH audience if they didn't hear about it, but you probably heard about it. It's when, you remember when that 16-year-old Ku Klux Klan shut up that African-American church in North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and with no hesitation, Michelle Obama, the following day or the following 2 or 3 days, took a weekend to Italy, fired up Air Force One or Air Force Two, and took her 2 daughters. One of them had one of those stylish faded turn-up jeans, and of course, Michelle Obama, mother, went along. Yeah, they went right away to Italy for a weekend and a couple of days. No hesitation. That's really low, you know what I mean? I'm going to hang up and hear the rest of your answer.
All right. Thank you for your call, brother. It is what it is. It is what it is. Again, these politicians don't care about you. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans. Dr. Claude said we need to pull out of these people, pull away from these people and do our own thing, and then demand that they acknowledge legacy black Americans and what we need and our needs, and stop being puppets and slaves to any political party. Now that's what I support. But also a part of Donald Trump's campaign of trying to make people forget that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, he decided to release the MLK files. Now, to be fair to him, he did say he was going to do this. He has always said this, especially since RFK joined his team. He said he was going to release the files on JFK, RFK, and MLK. And so he is, again, the timing is definitely about distraction. Timing is definitely about distraction. So on July 21st, which was a few days ago, the Trump administration declassified over 230,000 pages of documents and one audio file related to the FBI's investigation into the 1968 assassination of MLK Jr. The files primarily cover the FBI's investigation into King's assassination, including internal memos, news clippings, case leads, and interviews. They detailed the pursuit of James Earl Ray, who was the man convicted of assassinating Dr. King, including his use of aliases like Harvey Lohmeyer and Eric Galt when allegedly purchasing the murder weapon in Birmingham, Alabama, the days before the assassination. An audio file of an interview with Jerry Ray, who is James Earl Ray's brother, is also included in the files. There's also some stuff about witness accounts. One document highlights a Texas man, Joseph Meyer, who reported seeing a man firing a rifle in Mississippi 2 weeks before the assassination. Meyer described the man's appearance but was uncertain if it was James Earl Ray, noting that some photos of Ray resembled the individual he saw. Now, that's not very conclusive whatsoever. Another witness, who was referred to as a dank, was interviewed but described as unreliable by the agents. there weren't a lot of major revelations. People were really foaming at the mouth and sort of like, oh my God, we got the King documents. Historians like who is like a Pulitzer Prize winning author David Garrow, they have stated that the released documents contain little new or significant information beyond what has been public for decades. So most of this is just stuff we already knew. These files do not, I repeat, do not include FBI surveillance tapes or transcripts of King's personal life, which will remain sealed until 2027. Now that is what we have to look forward to in about 2 years, when they're going to start unsealing the supposed tapes or transcripts of Dr. King's personal life. Now, again, the COINTEL program was there basically to destroy King, destroy the Black Panthers, destroy civil rights leaders. Obviously, there was a lot of incentive for the agents to do all kinds of stuff, to say all kinds of stuff that may or may not have been true. I'm not saying all of it's true. I'm not saying all of it's not true. But allegedly, in a few years, we're going to learn about some of the stuff about like Dr. King having affairs on his wife and those types of things. But again, a lot of people have argued that a lot of that stuff is either forgeries or mistruths or whatever. So we'll be able to take that with a grain of salt, but we'll deal with that when it gets here. There is some stuff about the COINTEL campaign. It confirmed that the FBI's aggressive surveillance of King under the COINTEL program, which was driven by J. Edgar Hoover's suspicions of communist ties. This included illegal wiretaps and attempts to discredit King and the civil rights movement. Former FBI Director James Comey has called this surveillance an example of abuse and overreach. Well, duh. Tell us something we didn't know, James Comey. Please, tell us something we didn't know. A lot of this is just, like I said, basically hashed. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff online saying that in the files they found that Dr. King was planning a march for reparations. I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen that on Facebook and seen that in some other places where they said Dr. King was demanding $2 trillion from the American government and was going to plan marches for all over the country for reparations. I haven't been able to find that. I haven't been able to verify that. Now, we do know Dr. King supported reparations. We do know that. We know that because, you know, we know that he, he gave a lot of, he over the years, he talked about his support for reparations. So, I mean, we do know that was something that he supported. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see. No, I haven't been able to find that, but I did find a lot of MLK's speeches from back in the days, particularly towards the end of his life, had more of a tone of dealing with the economic exploitation of legacy Black Americans here in this country. And he talked about, next time we're coming for our check. So that may be what people are talking about when they're talking about King was planning these marches for reparations. I don't know. We do know he supported reparations, and we know that he was very much about trying to make America atone for what it was doing and what it had done to legacy Black Americans. But I absolutely view the death of Dr. King, probably at the hands of the American government, as another reason that legacy Black Americans are entitled to reparations. He's the most important civil rights leader we ever had. And it's likely that the American government killed him. helping to stunt the process of the progress of legacy black Americans economically and politically, and a lot of people would argue culturally, in this country. And so that's something to think about. Now, the King family were really against the release of these files because, again, like the rest of us, they've heard that the FBI had all kinds of tapes, whether they were doctored or whether they were legit, I don't know. Like I said, we'll find out in 2 years when they come out. But I guess this is what they thought was coming out this time. They thought this time, I guess, that a lot of stuff supposedly about infidelity and, you know, certain things that they felt like would be disrespectful or embarrassing to Dr. King's legacy would come out. But that was not really the case. These files were mostly served as again, a distraction. Pretty much a distraction from the sort of the maelstrom about the Epstein files. And so, you know, again, I think it's important to be able to do two things at once. It's important to be able to hold the American government accountable for the things that it did, including, in the opinion of courts in this country, the assassination of Dr. King, as well as not being distracted from the issue of Jeffrey Epstein, the prolific pedophile who had links to all of, like, multiple U.S. presidents and multiple prime ministers around the world, and a lot of the most powerful people in the world and richest people in the world, including people like Bill Gates. It's important to say, yeah, we wanted the King files, and because we want to know if the U.S. government killed Dr. King and is responsible for the environment around his killing. But we also want to know whether our presidents, including the current one, are pedophiles. We need to know that. Jeffrey Epstein said Trump was his best friend for 10 years. And, you know, there's more pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump than there are than with me with my grandparents. Like, hell, there's probably more pictures of Epstein and Trump together than there are me and my parents. These dudes were like two peas in a pod. And so, another thing Trump is distracted from, this week he basically admitted he was in the Epstein files. He just said that it was, you know, fabricated. The stuff about him was fabricated. So again, it's important to not let that stuff up, or let them off the hook for that, to be able to do two things at once, to be able to never let the American government off the hook for what it did to Dr. King and to the civil rights movement as a whole, and at the same time be able to hold our government accountable for what it's doing. All right, folks, we've been talking about some really heavy stuff here, so you know what that means. It's time for the Happy Happies. We'll be right back after these here on WLTH 1370 AM. If you do.